Hey guys, Brian here, and Bailey. He must have thought I needed supervision. I don't know if you can't see him. He's out of the picture. Yeah, maybe you can see him down here. Anyway, got a little project here today on a Monarch lathe piece. They want me to true up. So before I started cutting on, I wanted to kind of figure out where I was at. So I've got my height check indicator here, and I'm just going to go down through here and take some numbers. I had to shim this up to get it halfway close to level. There's some bed wear here, it appears, and they didn't want to do anything about that, only fix this compound. So I'm going to take a look and see what I got going on here before I butcher this all to pieces. Get an idea. Minus 10. Minus 10. Minus 8. Right, great. So that's 10 variance on this side, and really 10 on this side too. This side just happens to be 10 lower than this side, roughly. And it definitely shows, this side's definitely more scorn and worn, so that's probably legit close. So 10,000 should clean it up. Just out of curiosity, I wonder what this top surface looks like. 5 difference right there. Thing I'll do is indicate right along here. That seems to be the best original surface. It's not real scored up that whole length there, so if I get that in the mill and run my indicator down right through here, I should get a reasonable reading. Let me get this set up on the angle plates and get it over to the mill, and we'll see if we can't get something worked out on this as far as getting this trued up. So I'll get this attached and bring you back. So I've been thinking, since that's what jobs like this tend to make you do, and I cleaned off the back face that was machined where the taper attachment mounts, because that was a good surface, and these surfaces where the clamps go on the bottom, they should be original surfaces too. You can see the striations in it where this was planed on a planer. Adam should approve of that. So I think that those surfaces should be better to go by. Same about how to clamp this up and hold it. And those are some of the lowest points. So if this sits on the table somewhat flat, should be pretty close. I'll come in here with my scraper and clean. There was paint and stuff on here where it's kind of rusty there in the middle. One bolts up there, bolts up there and over there. And you can see maybe you can see the stamp. Somebody's inspection stamp on that surface before it went to the next step, I guess. These stamps are all over this thing. This is a Monarch compound. So kind of cool to see those marks on there. That one there, I believe, is right there, but it's real light. It's hard to see. So this camera's probably not good enough to pick it up. But anyway, I'm gonna clean this down and set it on the table and re-indicate the top and see how close it is. There's no of those inspection marks. See it there? Well, they're on pretty much all these surfaces. Kind of interesting that they scraped in where the compound, or where the carriage traverse mechanism bolts up there. I don't really know why that would need to be a super accurate surface, but maybe they had to do that in order to do these other surfaces. They may have had that scraped parallel with that to begin with, is what I'm guessing. So they just did all of it because it was easier to tell where you were going down to. The only way to print it, if it's too high, you can't print it. So rather than coming in here with just a single item, they probably did this whole thing. But it's been relieved in here for this to not hit, if that was the case, because that's lower. Oh, anyway, I wasn't there when they made it, so I can't say. Another thing always comes up is about what oil you use in your lathe. This is why I use detergent oils in mine, because that's what I normally find in this kind of stuff, is that it's just packed clear up in all the lubrication holes with old, dirty, waxed up oil junk. So I believe it running the detergent oils helps to break that up and wash it and flush it out. So many think, it's better to keep that down in the sump, but obviously that doesn't happen because this stuff is always full like that. When I first got my Monarch and changed it, put black stuff out all over the ways for quite a while as it was washing all this stuff out. Now it runs pretty clean oil out on it. It's usually just a clean oil look all over the surface. I figure it's better to flush it out and actually have it lubricating than to try to keep your dirt in the sump and have it not lubricate at all. But to each their own is what they want to do on that. Alright, so got this down on the plane surfaces now, and I'm going to re-indicate this. I think it's a lot better off than it was. So, see what we get now. So now I'm at +2 there. That's pretty much the same. I think y'all can see that. So, pretty much still 0 there. We'll leave it. Like a 0. +1. See it? Still roughly 0. Well, when it's sitting flat, obviously it does better, so there's a fair amount of wear in those ways, but not been sitting flat earlier when I had it on them, but this is probably going to be a better way to do it. If it's sitting on that plane surface, it appears to be fairly close to the original parallel, because I'm showing 2 on each end, 0 here, a little bit higher on this side than on this side. This is the lowest spot right in here, and that's the most worn spot, so I would say that that's probably to be expected. So realistically, it's 0 on each ends, and it's about 2 thousandths low here in the middle. It's going to be tough, really, to improve on that a lot, milling it. So I have to see what the customer wants to do. Might be better off just going ahead and scraping this. Alright, so I got my first angle plate job set up on the mill that I've done. This is one of those angle plates that I brought back in the car from Mr. Pete's. It was so kindly donated to me. It's one of a pair. It's a Swiss cheese on the front, but still a good angle plate. So what I've done is set this up on there and indicate it in, and I've got that piece of paper underneath of it there to get the closest to 0, 0 travel I can get, so I can take the least amount of material off the top of that, and should line up that way. And I'm gonna go ahead, I think while I've got this, if it cuts half decent, I'm gonna go ahead and hit these top surfaces. From what I can tell originally, they had either this milled or planed, same as this. So this surface, that surface, that surface, that surface, those 2 surfaces and this surface are all the same height. So that's what I'm gonna shoot for here. And I'm gonna try and do this all with one cutter. Least chances to introduce any errors that way. This is a dovetail cutter I'm going to use to come in here and hit these dovetails too. That's what I was requested to do. One on this other side's got some pretty good scoring in it, so we'll try and get this all squared up. And I've got what I did was set this on the mill table on the machine surface down here that I had checked on the granite to be square, and I've got a bolt in here. Look like that's how they probably originally did it. It's a central location hold down to hold this. There's nothing on this top. It's got clearance. This isn't even a machine surface here, so hopefully this thing won't vibrate too bad. But with this fine tooth dovetail cutter, it's super sharp. I don't think it should vibrate, and it's cast iron, so not nearly as springy as steel. Hopefully I won't have any crazy issues here like the last big job I did. So that's the only thing left to do is fire the mill up and get to cutting on this and see what we get. Okay, so I got a 3000 feeler gauge under this corner to tip this thing, because this is supposed to be out so it doesn't, it helps to deflect against the tool pushing back, and it makes sure that you cut a cylinder that's bigger on the outside than on the inside, so that you don't get something that rocks around if you face it off. So that's the built-in tip on this. So this should be my last pass. I'm gonna go up, go out, come around, and come back up. I want to cut both these in the same direction so that I got the least amount of variance, and I don't want to move this in or out again, so I get the least amount of variance, because this is the more critical surface than this top was. So let's do it. Well, it doesn't look too bad. They managed to get all the scoring out on here, looks like. So, there's still one line right there, but not too bad. So, out here, pretty beat up. Someone been pounding on the end of that, but smoothed it up pretty nice. Again, not really important with that. These are the important surfaces. I don't think there's anything important about this. I know it had been rubbing on this, but pretty sure that's supposed to be clearance. We'll normally see that as a contact point here and here. Typically it rides on this surface, and the Gibbs tighten it up. And we got the tip in it to compensate for the cutting forces and follow the original lines, and I got all the scoring cleaned out of them too. They're nice and smooth, so didn't even wipe out all the original oil line, which is good, so I didn't have to take too much off, and was able to keep it pretty well lined up to what it originally was. So I guess I'm gonna get it off here, and we'll get it on the granite surface plate, check it out, see how it did.